They say when somebody seems perfect, they usually are, just not for you. His name was Zion. Tall, sculpted, 6'3", his skin the color of rich caramel, a jawline sharp enough to cut grass, a deep, calm voice, always well dressed, always polite. He was the kind of man mothers prayed into their daughter's life. But Zion had a secret. And Tamara, a 28-year-old woman with big dreams and a soft heart, was about to walk into a fantasy she didn't know would break her. Tamara met Zion at a business seminar in Lagos. She didn't notice him at first, but when he stood up to speak on entrepreneurship and leadership, the room got quiet. Even the men leaned in. He was magnetic. His words were intelligent, humble, inspiring. His smile, disarming. After the seminar, Tamara approached him, pretending to ask about business advice. He gave her his card. It had gold trim. His fingers graced hers. Her heart skipped. After their first encounter, Tamara could not stop thinking about him. She stalked his Instagram. Every photo was more flawless than the last. Gym selfies, suit and tie, family photos, captioned with quotes about integrity and excellence. Everyone in the comments adored him. Tamara started imagining their future together. She even got as far in applying for a job at his company, even though it was below her experience level. She didn't care. She just wanted to be close to him. To her surprise, she got the job. On her first day, Zion personally welcomed her. He smelled like sandalwood and expensive confidence. Over time, he started noticing her, not in a romantic way, but with the warmth of a protector. He was kind, always checked in, offered to buy lunch for the whole team, gave compliments, lifted others. Tamara misread the signs. She thought he was shy or cautious, so she decided to push. One evening, after a long work week, Tamara knocked on Zion's office door. She wore red lipstick and a fitted black dress. Tamara said to Zion, "I thought you might want some company." Zion smiled, gratefully, politely, and added,
That's kind of you, but I'm heading out to meet some friends.
She leaned in closer and says to Zion, "I'm sure I could be more fun than your friends." Zion paused. He didn't look nervous or turned on. He just looked sad. "Tamara," he said gently.
You're amazing, truly, but I don't think I can give you what you want.
She laughed awkwardly. "You don't even know what I want." Zion smiled and says to Tamara.
I do, but I've already given my heart away, in a different way.
Tamara was startled by that statement. In her mind, she's saying to herself, "What does he mean by in a different way?" Tamara was thinking in her mind. Some weeks later, Tamara started hearing rumors that Zion didn't date women. Some people were even saying they saw him at a private party. Only men were invited at the private party. That his ex had been a man and they broken up because of pressure from the family. Tamara didn't believe it at first. Zion didn't look gay. But then again, what did that even mean? Tamara invited Zion to dinner, pretending it was for work. He agreed. They talked, laughed. She tried to flirt again. He stayed respectful but distant. Finally, Tamara asked, Are you seeing someone?" In a nervous, shaking voice, but she tried to control herself. Zion took a deep breath and answered.
No, but I'm not looking. And if I were, it wouldn't be with a woman.
The words shattered her. She forced a smile. "So it's true then?" He nodded. It's not something I advertise. My parents don't know. They are traditional. They want a wedding, grandkids, and a daughter-in-law. Tamara stared at her drink and asked Zion, "And you, what do you want?" He smiled softly. After their initial meeting at the restaurant, Tamara went home and cried. She wasn't just heartbroken, she was humiliated. She chased a man who was never available, not emotionally, not spiritually, not even sexually. And yet she didn't hate him. She admired him even more for his honesty. But she hated herself for dreaming too hard, too fast. 1 week later, Zion called Tamara and says to Tamara, "I'm telling my parents. I'm tired of hiding." After that day, Tamara went with him for moral support. His mother wept. His father went silent. They didn't scream, but their disappointment filled the room like smoke. Afterward, Zion looked free, shaking but lighter. After that day, Tamara left the job a few months later, not because of Zion, because she has found her purpose again. She started a podcast for women about emotional honesty, dating, and self-worth. Zion was her first guest. They laughed, they cried, and they healed, not as lovers, but as two people who taught each other how to be true. Tamara sat at her desk, recording the last line of her podcast episode. Sometimes the man you want is the man someone else needs. Sometimes the fairy tale is just a chapter, but there is power in letting go of fantasy so you can finally live your truth. She smiled and pressed upload. It had been 6 months since Tamara left Zion's company. Her podcast, Bare Soul, had gained traction. Women across Africa and the diaspora wrote to her, sharing stories of hidden pain, unspoken heartbreak, and quiet healing. She still thought about Zion sometimes, not with longing, but with gratitude. He had been the illusion she needed to meet her truth. Tamara got an email from Women's Empowerment Conference in Nairobi. They wanted her to speak about emotional courage in the digital age. She hesitated. Public speaking wasn't her thing. That was Zion's world. Maybe this time she wouldn't be standing in someone else's shadow. She said yes. 2 weeks before her trip, Zion called. "I'm engaged," he said, voice light. "To a man?" Tamara asked, holding her breath. "To peace," he chuckled. "Yes. His name is Malik. You would like him." Tamara laughed. It felt full and honest. "Are your parents okay now?" Zion replied, saying, "They are trying. That's enough for now." On the flight to Nairobi, Tamara scrolled through old photos. Zion, work, selfies, her younger, softer-eyed self. She realized how much she'd grown, not harder but wiser. Tamara no longer saw herself as the girl chasing a fantasy. She saw a woman learning to love herself in real time. The stage lights were harsh, but Tamara's voice was steady. She spoke about illusions, about emotional hunger, about charity. "You can't heal in fantasies," she says. "You can only lose yourself." When she finished, the applause was thunderous. But what struck her more was a familiar face in the crowd. His name was David, but not Zion Tall. Soft eyes, a quiet presence. David approached Tamara after her talk, but something about her steadiness made him linger. He was recently divorced, had 2 kids, and wasn't looking for a rebound. But something about her steadiness made him linger. Over Kenyan coffee, they shared life stories. David told Tamara about losing himself in someone else's dream. Tamara also tells David about Zion and what it taught her about her projection. There were no sparks between them, not yet, but there was safety and respect. Sometimes love begins with quiet understanding. Back in Lagos, Tamara found herself thinking about David often. David texts her daily, always gentle, always respectful, but something about the ease scared her. She only knew intensity, the high of chasing. Could peace feel like love? Tamara asked herself. One evening, Tamara ran into Lanry, her ex from many years ago. He'd broken her heart with silent and broken promises. Now he was apologetic, handsome and successful. Lanry whispered to Tamara, I still think about you. Tamara said to Lanry, I don't. Closure never tasted so sweet. David invited Tamara to Ghana, where he was hosting a wellness retreat. David said to Tamara, I want you to speak and maybe stay a little longer. Tamara hesitated. This felt real. Real meant risk, but growth only happens when you stop hiding. Ghana was lush, warm, and healing. Tamara spoke, journaled, danced barefoot under the stars. One night, David sat beside her by the ocean. David says to Tamara, I'm not here to rescue you. I just want you to know. Tears welled in Tamara's eyes. She was finally being seen without performing. David and Tamara kissed, not with fireworks, but with reverence. It wasn't Zion. It wasn't fantasy. It was real. A couple of weeks later, Zion called from Paris and said to Tamara, We're getting married next month. Come if you can. Tamara paused. Of course, she said. I wouldn't miss it for the world. This was closure, not competition. 1 month later, Zion and Malik's wedding was small and stunning. Tamara sat in front row, cried during the vows, laughed during the dancing. At one point, Zion pulled her aside. Zion says, You taught me something, Tamara, that the heart knows, even when we lie to it. Tamara nodded. You taught me too, that love isn't always meant to be returned. Sometimes it's meant to be released. After the wedding, 1 week later, Tamara returned to Lagos a new woman. She moved into a bigger studio, hired a podcast team, started mentoring young women. David visited often. One night, she ended her episode with, Don't chase illusion. Don't beg to be chosen. Become the kind of person who no longer needs fantasy to feel worthy. You are the story. You are the lesson. You are enough. She smiled and pressed upload. If you had enjoyed this folktale, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share this video. Thank you for watching. See you next time.